Hi guys, how you doing? Sukaja here. Welcome back to my booktube channel. Today I wanted to make a different video. I'm going to talk to you about the books that I think are perfect for reading this Halloween season. As you all know, fall is begun in most parts of the world and it's getting chilly. I'm going to recommend to you 10 books, maybe 11. If you stay till the end, you'll get a bonus book that I think are perfect reads for this pre-Halloween season and that are perfect to read during the fall. I'll get started without further ado. First up, I want to talk to you about the book that I'm currently reading and super excited about. This is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. A bit of sci-fi, gothic elements. I'm really loving this. It has lots of storms in it, got lovely sentences. I'm really enjoying this and would definitely recommend everyone to read this. It's written in a very accessible manner. It's a great place to start if you want to venture into classics. It's a story about this man who creates a being who brings it back to life from sewing together pieces of body of somebody who has passed away. So he is into natural philosophy and he believes that it is possible to infuse electricity and bring people back from the dead. So that is how he creates this monster, and this monster tends to haunt him, and basically he is having to cope with the effects of his experiment being a success. So while he is really thrilled about the fact that it works, he's also haunted by how, he has really done something which no one other than God would be able to do, that is give life to something. So that does unsettle him and he doesn't know how to, face the repercussions of his experiment. So that's what's interesting about this. Has tons of storms, tons of torrential downpours. It's got all the feels. So I definitely recommend this for like pre-Halloween reading. If you're currently reading this, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Also, the next book that I want to recommend is Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. This is about a man who murders another person because that person has an evil eye that he always has open even when he sort of sleeps. So because kind of like Mad Eye Moody, so the person gets irritated. This person is always with that eye, so he decides to like kill him, and then he puts his body under the floorboards of this house. He is consumed by his guilt. So one day, when the investigation happens about the murder of this old man because of his evil eye, he didn't even do anything to the narrator, but then the narrator decides to kill him anyway. So it's pretty sinister, and Edgar Allan Poe is one of the forerunners of the American Gothic genre of fiction, and he also is the father of detective fiction, and he has written some amazing pieces out there. This little penguin classic is just, a collection of 3 of his stories, including The Fall of the House of Usher, which I also enjoyed. So I highly recommend this for this season. Let me know if you've read this, loved it. Moving on, I also have this book called Weiland and Memoirs of Carwin the Biloquist. So this is something I read during my master's. I had a seminar called American Writing About Death. This is apparently the first book of Gothic fiction that was ever published, and it's published by Charles Brockden Brown. So this is his debut novel as well, and it's done really well. It has a lot of Gothic elements. It has stuff like spontaneous combustion, ventriloquism, religious fanaticism, all of these things. It's a horror Gothic fiction. Definitely pretty scary. It's about this man who has the ability to make different strange sounds. So he comes to the life of this brother and sister, Clara and her brother, and this man tends to haunt them to the extent that they lose themselves. They become quite disturbed by it, and then they end up killing their own family members and stuff like that. It's been a while since I read this, but I remember really enjoying reading this, and I definitely want to reread this again. It's very sinister, and so what happens is the father of Clara is the one who hears lots of voices in Mystery's voice in the house, and Theodore, her brother, begins to hear them as well. They have to confront that. So her mental state degrades because of the haunting. So definitely recommend this. Another book that I want to talk to you about is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, which is a Gothic novel that I enjoyed, and I also watched the black and white films and I totally enjoyed that as well. This is a perfect Halloween read. It is one of my favorite Gothic novels. This book is about a woman who is a governess, and she comes to this house where there are 2 children. Outside the house in the gardens, they start seeing all these ghosts and everything. So the children are to be protected by the governess, but at the same time, is she really responsible? Is there something in her past that has led for these ghosts to come about? Are the ghosts the previous inhabitants of the house? Nobody really knows. So this is what the story is about. It's been a while since I read that as well, but the movie is even more amazing. So if you're planning to have like a Halloween party with your friends and you want to watch a movie, then watch The Turn of the Screw. It's amazing. The next book I'm going to talk about is not really horror or gothic. It's from the genre called dark academia, which is very intense. Also, there's a book called Possession, which is also from the same genre. I really like this genre, and this is called The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is my all-time favorite novel, and as it is described, haunting, compelling, and brilliant. A bunch of students, academics, and they're studying the classics, and there are a lot of things in the classics that are mentioned about, certain ceremonies and orgies that you can do and stuff like that. So these kids are really interested in what they're reading, and they want to actually bring that to life. So the 5 of them, they're very close and a bit too close for comfort. Includes 3 boys and a girl, and they end up going in the middle of the night in the middle of the forest, and they start doing this ceremony, and then they get caught. They get into a lot of trouble. They cross certain boundaries that they're not supposed to cross, and then one of them ends up dying because he jumps off a cliff because one of the others talks him into doing that. So the person's name is Bunny. So Bunny is a very intriguing character from The Secret History, and someone that everyone really enjoys reading about. Like, most readers have said that they loved reading about Bunny. Yeah, everyone empathizes with the fact that he was forced to kill himself. So this is also his story, and the story of these disturbed teenagers who are also into, serious academic study. So yeah, this is what the book is about. I definitely recommend this for this season. It's a bit thick, but it's also fast-paced, suspenseful, and a real page-turner. Highly recommend it. Another book that I want to talk about is Poor Things by Alasdair, which has been inspired by Frankenstein. And this is a story about a man called Godwin Baxter. He ends up meeting this guy called Archibald McCandless. So Archibald is actually somebody who has brought to life a woman who passed away, and she had a baby in her body. So the baby's brain is implanted into the woman, and she's brought back to life. So she's a woman with the baby's intellect. So Archibald ends up falling in love with her, and Godwin Baxter is also this monstrous sort of figure. It's set in the Victorian era, so definitely recommend reading this if you like Frankenstein, and if you like retellings, and if you like books about the body. I've also made this other video where I talk about similar books that deal with the body. I will link that in the description box down below and up here, so you can check it out. Another book that I would recommend this season is The Dumb House by John Burnside. This book is about a man who is really involved in scientific experiments. He likes to dissect things, and he goes underground in his basement, and he's all the time dissecting animals and procuring hearts and all sorts of things. He has 2 twins, and he wants to study language and like how language works. So he wants to study that, and then he decides to crush the vocal cords of his twins. So it's really morbid. It's really not for the faint-hearted. I was reminded of the narrator of Lolita when I read this. The narrators seem pretty alike. So they're very sinister, heartless, cruel. They engage in lots of surreal, unrealistic things, and they don't have that much attachment to the situation, so you can see that happening. But I highly recommend this. This was a fun read on the whole. So yeah, definitely worth reading during this time of year. And another book that I enjoyed was Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express. Many of you might have seen the film, which was also very good. I think it was equally good as the book because I was able to imagine things the way I'd imagined them when I was reading the book. So Murder on the Orient Express is about a murder that takes place on the Orient Express, as the title implies. There are many passengers from different paths. Hercule Poirot is the main detective in Agatha Christie novels, and he is asked to solve this case and figure out why the murder happened, what were the motives of the murderer, who was the murderer, and stuff like that. So he begins to investigate the case and conducts a series of interviews where he's interviewing and asking questions to all the suspects, all of the passengers in the same cabin, and all of them sort of weave interesting tales. It's quite difficult for him to nail the case, but then in the end he manages to do that, and it's really cathartic for readers because even we're trying to figure it out. While we're reading the book, we're also trying to figure out what happened. And when it does fall into place in the end, it really feels really nice for readers. So highly recommend this as well. The next book I want to talk about is Slade House by David Mitchell. He is most famous for his book Cloud Atlas. I haven't read that yet, but I really like Slade House. This has a really intriguing hardcover. It's horror fiction again. You can see that. Yeah. So this is about a house which is found in Slade Alley. And on Halloween, this house invites one person into its folds. The person feels like they belong. So they sort of see illusions when they enter the house. They feel like it's a party and they're supposed to go there. They're meant to be there once every 9 years. There are previous inhabitants of the house, and it's haunted, and all of them sort of are controlling the events. So that's why people get invited. They feel like they belong, and they end up losing themselves, and a lot of horrible things happen. So there are two spirits, evil spirits in the house. You think you're getting into something you think you can handle, but then when the visitor enters the house, he loses himself. He can't differentiate between reality and illusion anymore. And so that's what this book is about. Really enjoyed it. Read this last Halloween. Very spooky, extremely scary. You might get nightmares. The next book is The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. I really enjoyed this. This is gothic fiction all the way, written in modern times, so lovely cover as well, one of the best covers that I've ever seen. This is about a woman called Elsie who is pregnant and recently widowed. So she ends up going to this house which belonged to her husband, and she wants to see through her pregnancy term. When she's there, like right when she enters, the coffin of her husband is around, and it's really spooky. It has the chills. It's like this deserted mansion in the middle of nowhere, and there's a village nearby, and there's a graveyard nearby, and there's like, it's got all the gothic elements that you could ask for. There is this attic in the house at the top, and in the attic there are these silent companions. So these are actually life-size dolls of the previous inhabitants of the house, but their portraits, the portraits of the previous inhabitants, are all over the place. And there is one portrait which looks exactly the way Elsie currently looks. So it's one of her ancestors, and the resemblance is eerily accurate. Why it's so scary is because these silent companions, they start popping up all over the house, and Elsie loses it. She starts to fall from reason, and insanity takes over, and she's just like haunted by all these silent companions. Like, you're sleeping in your bed, and one day when in the morning you wake up, you see a silent companion, a cardboard cutout of this previous ancestor in the house right there in front of you, staring back at you. It is super scary. You will get nightmares if you read this, but I enjoyed this, and it's a gothic fiction, so definitely on the list for October reading. I mean, October, September, November reading. This is the time. Anyway, I'm so thrilled that I got to talk to you about all these books. There is one last book that I want to talk about, and this is Carmilla, which is written by J.L. Sheridan. This book is actually the book that inspired Dracula, and many of you haven't heard of Carmilla because it is what Bram Stoker was inspired by when he wrote Dracula. This is a story about vampirism. It's a horror, and it involves a bit of lesbianism as well. So there's like this woman who has been having a dream about this other woman who, from when she was 6, and when she grows up, she ends up going to this house and actually comes face to face with this vampiress. So it begins this healthy, scary story about this interdependence and all of that. It's a really short novella, can be read in no time. Totally recommend reading that as well if you're a fan of dark things, gothic fiction, and the likes. Anyway, I hope you like this video. I really had fun making it. Let me know if you're planning to read any of the books mentioned in the video. Let me know if you have any favorites, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Let's have a discussion in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please share it with your friends who also like similar dark, eerie things. Like and subscribe to this channel. I hope you enjoyed. Lots of bookish love.